Welcome, Joy, to Sip and Sunday, the podcast. Very excited to have you on. Can you let the listeners know what you're sipping on or what your favorite drink is?
Thank you so much for having me. Today I'm just sipping on some water, keeping it cute. Right now, that has been my favorite, keeping it hydrated.
I say that water is the real adult beverage because you need to stay hydrated.
It's like real maturity is like, I'm just gonna have some water.
Exactly. And as a kid, I really did not like drinking water, but today also have my water and I have some Thai tea that I got. Me too. And I was buying it so much that I was like, I have to go to the Asian market and figure out how do I do this myself. So
I
that's what I did.
in that era of like, I gotta have food. I have to have drinks at my house, like it's
Exactly.
a little too much.
Yes, yes. And my favorite question, everybody knows I ask my guests this first. What age do you feel like you became an adult if you reached that age yet?
I feel like the age keeps getting pushed back. Like, I remember when I was younger, I would always kind of say, like, oh, when I become an adult, like to my dad. And, at first I was like a proper child, so it made sense. But then it's like, okay, I graduated college and I still say that. And it's like, now I have like my own home and I'm still saying that. And I'm like paying my own bills. And I'm like, oh, when I get married and I have kids, like now I'll be like a proper adult. So I feel like my bar just keeps on getting pushed because it's just like I don't feel like an adult. Like, why am I the responsible one here? So I would say that as of right now, at my big age of 30, I don't really think I'm still an adult yet.
And that's very valid. And I also view adulting the same. I think that for doing this podcast for a couple years now, and then just like experiencing different things as an adult and talking to different people, I would usually say 23 to 24 because that's when I got my first full-time job. But I very much agree with you that it's levels. And I always say that like you just hear the little Mario sound in your head when it's like leveling up.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what I feel like adulting is actually like. So there's an age where you can feel like you've reached adulthood, which I would still say that's 23, 24 for me. But as I'm in the process of writing the book, I actually do feel like I became an adult at 18, but not that I was like an adult, like being
Right.
grown. Like I feel like exactly what you said, that there were things that happened that I was like, oh, like, I'm doing pretty good like on my own, or I know how to navigate this scenario I'm in, but I don't know how to do all the things.
Right. It's all the things. Like it's the all encompassing. It's like I can like check off some boxes, but I feel like adulting is like a balance of like you're kind of getting it all together at the same time. And I'm like, haven't done that yet.
And it's not all going to be together ever. Because even if you think like, oh, I'm going to retire and then like I'm going to have everything together, you're not, because then you have to unlearn all of the working that you've done for your whole life and know how to rest.
That's so real.
And do nothing, which I would have a grand old time doing. And I hope that we get to reach retirement because
Lord.
I can't wait. So you're here because you do something that I think is really cool. And aside from that, I feel like that even though you created that, kind of similar to me as well, that it is just like who you are and what you do generally, but now you wanted to help a community doing that. So specifically in Baltimore, you highlight events that are going on in the city. You create your own spaces for people to come together, whether they're entrepreneurs, whether they love the Lord, whether they're just trying to meet new friends, all of the things. So talking about kind of like your journey, how did you get to that point to create that space for people that are here in Baltimore?
Yeah, so I am the founder of List Social Club. We're a social club who helps Black people find their people in their city. And it really came because I feel like in this season of kind of adulthood, especially when you get to your like late 20s to like hitting that 30, I feel like that's when you start to kind of realize more who you are. And then you kind of realize that maybe the friends and community that you have built along the way maybe don't align with where you are and where you're going. And not necessarily in a like, I'm better than you kind of way, but we all have our own journey. We all have our own things that we kind of are pulled toward and stuff like that. Like, for example, entrepreneurship. And something like one of the areas that I was looking for were other friends who were like entrepreneurs, like working every single day. Cause it's just like, you kind of want to be around people who have like similar goals are working on or similar things that you're doing, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's something faith based, whether it's like working out or like eating healthily, just like your community is going to be the biggest influence. So you kind of want people who are, going in the same direction. And I feel like more recently, like, love the community that I have. Like, I have some really great friends that I've gotten from, kindergarten all the way to college to jobs and everything. But I feel like I got to a place where I kind of just wanted to, just kind of expand my community and my people of like, one, people who live in Baltimore, because a lot of my friends do not, or, they like to go to DC and, DC don't even be DC it anymore. But, just people who are here, people who are on a similar journey, similar lifestyle, because you start getting into this. Some people are married and have kids, and like that is just not where I'm at. So just finding people who align. That was something that was really important to me. And I was just like struggling to find it. Like, I'm a very social person. I go to networking events and all of that, but it's really hard to find people who, like, one, have similar interests as you, two, have like a similar kind of like friendship style too, like low key, and then also just, in similar circumstances and stuff. And I feel like it was really hard to kind of find that. So I really kind of just wanted to create a space where you're able to do that. And I think the main thing that's missing is kind of two parts. It's like, one, more, I'll call them niche spaces where, you're in a space where you're doing something you like to do, or you're, an entrepreneur. So you're doing entrepreneur things, or creative doing creative things, or, a parent and you're around other parents or whatever it may be. So they can kind of get you and you can kind of be passionate about the same thing, and you already have something that kind of connects you. I feel like a lot of stuff that's geared toward, say millennials or younger people, it's just like, oh, here's a happy hour. Like, good luck, go find somebody. Or here's a party or whatever it may be. And it's stuff that is usually like the event is cool, but I don't really leave having met somebody that I'm going to talk to again. And I've realized that as I get older, I care more about the connection in the community than more about like, oh, I was entertained for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to create spaces that are more about connection and community. And also, we're going to have a great time, but just really creating that space. And then I feel like the other piece of it also that we lose as an adult is you don't really get in like spaces where you see somebody like multiple times, if that makes sense. Like, school, you have your clubs and your classes. Like, you might sit next to somebody one day and y'all don't hit it off and have the best friendship, but you see them a couple of times and now y'all are cool and you talk a little bit deeper one day. And then now you realize you have a whole bunch of stuff in common and you kind of like bond and connect. And I feel like nowadays, whether it's friends, whether it's dating, whether it's whatever, it's like you have one interaction and like you're supposed to build this like huge lifelong thing off of that. But if you really think about the friends you made from like childhood or from a job or something, it's like you're seeing these people every day or every week or every whatever. So you have an opportunity to kind of build a foundation. And now again, we're at our random happy hour where we're just
Yeah.
talking to whoever and we're never going to see them again. So it's really hard to build those organic interactions. So I wanted something also where like we're going to come back. Like, you're going to see the same people kind of often. So it's not a lot of pressure in that first interaction. And you kind of have space to feel somebody out and kind of let your walls down like gradually versus like, we got to be best friends today or we're just never going to talk again.
Yeah. No, I love all of that because I feel like I'm very similar. Like, I am very social. I think that as I've gotten older, that even I guess a little bit pre-pandemic, like, not that I wasn't willing to make new friends, but it was more so like I'm cool with the group that I have, but I've moved from New York to Miami, Miami back to New York, and then New York to Baltimore. So moving to Baltimore was a very new place for me because I had only been here like once or twice, and it was my intent to actually move to DC, not Baltimore. But what kept me in Baltimore is everything that you're saying about like how we have spaces where you can see people and see them frequently, but it's not creepy frequently like that. You're like, oh, like, what are you doing here again? It's like, oh, hey, like, nice to see you. Like, after like the third, fourth time of seeing them, then you're like, what's your name? Like, oh, like, what do you do? Like, what brought you here? So I've liked those types of interactions because I agree. I think it gives you like no pressure. It's kind of like you see somebody and you're familiar with them, but you don't know them. And then you're just talking to them about what brought you to wherever you're at, or like a drink they got or something they're wearing. But then eventually you're like, wait, like, what do you do? Like, tell me about like more about your life. And I like those things that aren't straight to that, because in a networking setting for like work, the thing is, tell me about yourself. Like, what do you do? Like, where's your job? Like, how'd you get to the field? Me personally, I don't want to always be talking about work. outside of work. If it comes up naturally, sure, but I don't like those anymore. And I do feel like for millennials specifically, that we had so many organic ways
Yeah.
pre-pandemic to meet people and talk to people, mostly because, again, jokes, and it makes us sound old, but we were like the last group to have no social media, to have no internet or like shaky internet, to have like real true parties without TikTok, basement parties. Like that's how you were meeting and experiencing with people and bonding with people, because you had to find things to do because we couldn't just sit and scroll all day and like try to entertain your time.
Right. And I feel like also like when we were in our teenage years, like we had the mall, like, like
The
nothing.
mall was the place. The mall, the bowling alleys.
Right, bowling alleys, skating ring, like just miscellaneous like places to just hang out where it's like you literally are there to like talk to people. And as a girl, like I'm there so a guy might holler at me and a guy like you there so like we used to leave the house for these purposes and then also meeting the girls and just all the things. And it's just like all those spaces really kind of don't exist as much when you're an adult. And then especially now kids nowadays, Gen Z and beyond, like they never had these spaces, so they don't even know what it's like to just be in a room with other people and be like, oh, maybe I should like go talk to that person.
Yes, I'm hopeful though, because like the past 5 years has really changed the world, and we have to think about how Gen Z had been affected the most as far as social interactions go, because they have this happened in a prime time for them to be discovering and learning and trying new things and meeting people. So I'm hopeful we'll get back to it, only because trends repeat themselves and people come back around. So I think that they will. It's just definitely going to take a longer period of time because those spaces aren't as organically made, but it's possible with people like you that are doing it in their cities. And if you don't live in Baltimore, don't worry. You make a space like this for your city, or there probably are already spaces like this. So seek those out so that you can make some friends. And what does community mean to you? And you touched a little bit about your friends and stuff that you have throughout your years and how that kind of changed. But what does community mean to you, and where did it really start for you too?
I feel like community is really just your I don't want to call it your support system because it sounds like there's like an obligation behind it, even though, of course, kind of ends up being that when it needs to be. But just kind of having like your go to people to kind of like get you out the house if you need to get out the house. Like you have people to confide in if you need that. Like I think it's very important to just have people that can kind of pour in you and kind of see you all the ways you kind of need to be poured in and seen. Like I think a lot of the times we put a lot of pressure on like one or two people to kind of be everything for us versus like a community is important because it's like it truly takes a village, like not just with a child, but with an adult. Like I'm just a girl. Like an adult baby, okay, out here.
Exactly.
Like we all have our times where we might be a little down and out and we have people that we can call on and be there as like a resource or be there for them. And I think just more and more community is just more important, especially when it comes to like mental health and everything, just being able to again just like be poured into. Like I think that's just like a common thing of just being able to pour into each other and support each other in the positive ways if somebody's doing something with their business or anything like that. And I've realized that even though I kind of started this off saying that there's no like obligation, like I do think that I've seen like a lot of conversations now about how community requires you to also be like inconvenienced sometimes and for you to have to do things that maybe not be the most exciting thing or the thing that you want to do, but like you might need that one day. So you want to be that person for
Yes.
somebody and stuff like that. And I feel like, as you get older and people are dealing with more things and all of that, I feel like I've seen that a lot more on the receiving end and also on like the giving end. So just really having those people who can just be there and be a resource and pour into you, I feel like is what community is all about.
Yeah, and I like that you're saying too that it has to do with like proximity and being convenient, not saying that you're just trying to seek something from somebody or utilize them for a specific reason. But I do think about that a lot now because a lot of my friends aren't in Baltimore, like my friends from home, obviously, or like my friends from college, but I've made a lot of friends in Baltimore. And I think that I've gotten to the point with me for friendship that just because we don't speak every day doesn't mean you're not my friend. Like sometimes like the days just really are busy. So I do believe people make time for what they want to make time for, but I also feel that we are just collectively as a unit struggling.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't remember to respond, which a couple texts popped in my head that I forgot to respond to. But it's like,
I'm like,
but it's not because I don't want to talk to you. I think it goes back to, like we said, that we've just gotten so accustomed to direct access to people all the time, 24/7. And I'm trying to like dial back from that more so because like I do have a lot going on. I work full time. I have a business. I do a podcast. Like I'm trying to do things that are going to help my future, and I'm not forgetting my friends or like other things in the happenings of doing that, but it's like I really need to be focused on my time, and my phone is a distraction for me, so I'm
right.
trying to manage that. So I hear the convenient part because sometimes if people aren't in your circle, like in the day-to-day circle, it's hard to keep up with them. It's hard to keep those commonalities going so
Yeah.
that you can continue building that relationship. It's not impossible though, but that kind of makes it go to the wayside when they're not convenient or in a accessible space all the time.
And I'm just like so heavy on the like, we did not used to have all this access and expect immediate access. Like, we used to call each other and just hope that you're home or hope that you're doing, you know what I mean? Like, just, and there was just no hard feelings, you know? Like, I don't like that nowadays. Like, I never have my read receipts on because I'm just like, please.
I
It's
don't
like,
have mine on either.
or something, because it's like I had my read receipts on, and like I'm a type of person, like since I understand that other people are busy and don't respond immediately, like I didn't know it was a bad thing to kind of like read it and then like I'm gonna come back and then come back. People will
Yeah, I
call you
do that all the time though. I will read something and then go back to it.
because if I respond now I have to have a whole conversation. It's like I'm literally trying to do some work right now. Like I do not have it in me, but I completely agree
Yes.
with just like we're in a new era where people just expect like, oh, I'm free, so I'm gonna text you, so you need to be free and all of that, where it's like I feel like the not better friendships, but like when you have more empathy for people and can kind of just see the bigger picture, it's just we are doing other things and that's fine. Like we're all adults here.
Like we need to touch grass, get outside, get in the sunshine. Daylight savings has come. Let's go do things that are off your phone.
And it's like similarly, like I feel like I saw some tweet that said like, my grandmother said that like if you have time to like worry about a guy, like you need to do something else with your life. Like you need to add some like new hobbies or something. And I feel like that's with friends and stuff too. It's like if you are literally just like constantly sitting by the phone, like, oh my gosh, this person didn't text me back, like you probably need to fill your time a little bit more and find something that's like pouring into you and fulfilling you versus again relying on two or three people to kind of be everything for you.
Yeah. And I just think there's a way that you can communicate with people that like if you're going through something, and it's also a difference of you never responding to any
Yeah.
text is that's sent versus like a day or two has passed and you didn't respond to the text.
Mhm.
But if it's like every single text that you are not responding to, that's a different debacle than it's just only been a day or two. And when people say making friends is hard, how do you think that they should approach making friends?
I think people should approach making friends by honestly like doing just focus on doing the things that you actually enjoy doing, and then I feel like that puts you in spaces around people who are probably closer to who you are as a person, so you're kind of more likely to gel, if that makes sense. Not to keep like reusing this happy hour example and stuff, but it's just like you're just going there to meet other people who want to meet people, but that doesn't mean that you're gonna meet your people. Like I remember I went to it's like, the happy hours, the run clubs, the like conferences and stuff, like all the trendy things of like, this is how you meet people, like do this thing versus like, let me do this thing that I actually enjoy doing. And whether or not I meet people, I'm going to have a good time. But like, ideally, I'll meet people who enjoy doing the things that I enjoy doing. And I feel like just really taking the time to kind of figure out like ignoring what TikTok said that I should be doing right now. Like, what would I like to do with my free time? And like when you're in that space, just like naturally talking to people. Don't go into it like I have to make this best friend date by the end of this conversation, but just be like genuinely curious about people and just be in spaces where you're around people who kind of have similar mindsets or values, or, if you want to get into working out, like, start going to your Pilates classes or whatever it is. I know you do the walking and everything, the
Yes.
like just stuff like that. If that's something you're genuinely interested in, like do that and like get involved, volunteer or something like that. I think that one, we as people obviously have just kind of been more homebodies and in the house. I feel, obviously from the pandemic. So like going outside the house and stuff is already a feat. And then now you're like, oh my God, now I have to meet people. So I think it just lowers the pressure when you're just like, I'm just going out and do something that I just want to do, and just kind of make sure I'm staying open to connections and stuff while I'm there versus like putting so much pressure on it. Because then I feel like that also comes with a certain energy behind it, like the kind of conversations you're having or like the pressure you're putting on yourself, or not to keep comparing it to dating, but I feel like it's like a similar kind of way where it's just like if you're just kind of out and in a space where you hopefully are around people who are similar to you, then you're going to like find people similar to you.
Yeah. Definitely, for sure. Because I think about like the place I've been where I have had random conversations that I've never seen the person again, but like it stood out to me. And most of them have to do with traveling. Like at the airport, I remember I can't remember where I was going, where I was flying to, but somebody was sitting at the bar and we were talking about I was on my laptop doing something for the podcast, and they were like, "Oh, do you host a podcast?" First, I mean, yes, they were in my computer, obviously, to be reading it, but they were that's how the conversation sparked. And then they were just asking about it and like, what do I do? And they're like, oh my God, like that's amazing. And then just starts talking about like their journey through adulting, blah blah blah, where they're traveling to. And then the next person also was at an airport. I think I was coming back from Chicago at that time, and I don't remember how we necessarily started talking, but it was like just an organic regular conversation that I still remember because I feel like they were genuine. They made an impact. We had no pressure, never talked again. We might have followed each other on Instagram, but like, I'm never going to see that person
Right.
again.
It's a little throwaway. Like,
And I think those types of interactions just help you to realize that everybody is not trash. Like, yes, some people are weird, but you need to be open to having conversation with people because even a friendship aside, if you don't want to talk to people, like, how do you do your job? How do you just do job interviews? Things like that. If you don't feel comfortable, like, and being comfortable and not doing it is different than being nervous. Like everybody can be nervous to talk to people, or you get like, I'm an introvert, like this is draining and tiring, which that part is all valid, but just avoiding it and like
yeah.
saying no to yourself before you even try to do it or put yourself out there is completely different. And I don't like when people are doing that and then they're just like, well, I can't make friends. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to find stuff. Google is a free
Right.
resource.
Okay.
TikTok, Instagram, you can search things to do in my city, people
Mhm.
who like run clubs, people who like happy hour, people who like podcasts, and something will come up for you to find.
And especially because like I feel like it's just like I don't want to say it's like an excuse or whatever, but it's like every single thing is like a muscle that you kind of have to work or a skill that you have to learn and stuff like that. Like even as an introvert, like obviously I understand, it might be hard, or if you feel like you're a little social awkward and all of that kind of stuff. It's just like there are other introverted and socially awkward people out there. Y'all can bond over that. Like it's not like you have to master it. It's more about finding your people where it's like y'all are just gonna connect because maybe y'all have that in common, versus just letting that be the intimidating factor, and then now you're just not going to do anything, or you go out and you not talk to somebody, or like think about it in levels of like at first I'm just go out, and even if I don't talk to anybody, like I've made the first step, and then the next time like I'll sit at the bar versus sitting at a table by myself, and just kind of like graduate from there versus just like writing it off.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like you just have to start doing something, and the most cliche thing when somebody asks like, how do I start doing something, or how do you recommend I do whatever, it's like you just have to do it, because you can talk about it, you can plan
Right.
about it, you can keep googling, keep looking at stuff, but if you don't just actually do it, you're not going to get anywhere. And I know that it sounds hard, but I feel like the biggest reason why it's hard for people is because in their own head, they're doubting themselves or they're already telling themselves no. So I actually just talked about this when I was with the kids about navigating imposter syndrome. If you have a negative thought, just like reframe it. So you're like, oh, I don't want to go out because people are weird. Be like, I'm going to go out and people might not be weird. Like,
I like that. Yeah.
just say it in a different way so that you are reassuring yourself. And most times it's not as bad as you think it's going to be.
It isn't. And then if it's just like the worst case scenario is going to be a little awkward, and it's like, you leave and then you're never going to see these people again. So it doesn't matter.
So maybe that's a better tip too. Try somewhere where, in case it
Mhm.
gets weird, you don't like it, go to a place where you might not run into these people again, or it's all new people or something. Because that's true. Because I'm thinking about like Baltimore. A lot of the spaces that I've been in have been like creative spaces, like Black Ass Flea Market, even just like small Black owned places. Because I feel like even though Baltimore has its own little neighborhoods and everybody has a unique personality. Like I can now almost run into anybody anywhere. I can be at our house, I'm gonna run into
Yeah.
somebody. At
Right.
Ceremony Coffee, I'm gonna run into
Right.
somebody. Walking at the harbor, I'm gonna run into somebody. So if there's places you always run into people, don't go there to start this journey.
Yeah. Right.
Go
Yeah.
somewhere else so that you can feel comfortable in the event that some weird thing happens or that you think the people there are weird, whatever the case is, so that you can try to make friends or do whatever. Even talking to just like the bartender or like the waiter, because I've found that like most people in hospitality are hospitable, but not always. It really just depends on the place and like the vibe. So thinking about just like where do you want to go or where might a person that you would want to talk to would be, but maybe starting with like the bartender or waiter
Right.
because they're just trying to pass the time anyway.
Right, exactly. And then also somewhere I feel like that's like even an activity, like something that's forcing you kind of to talk. Like if there's somewhere that has like a pool table and you play pool, or like if you watch sports and like a game's on, like something where it's like by nature, it's like forcing you to kind of connect with the other people in the room. Like I feel like stuff like that is nice. Or even like the like sports league, like Volo and
Oh yeah.
yeah, where it's like you're already kind of like paired with somebody or you're on the same team because you're cheering for something. Just to build those kind of like natural connections and feel like you already kind of like got somebody.
Yeah. And even like small group things, like when I did the candle making class with my friend Tatiana, who oversees Sudlit Candle Company, like that was a pretty small group, like 10 to 12 people. And then my friend Nika, who does Nika's cupcake bar, she did like a cupcake decorating class. And that was like 4 or 5 of us. And that is a good setting to start talking to
Mhm.
people as well. And this was not something I had sent you before, but it popped to my head just now that you have posted some videos about this platonic relationships in friendship of like can men and women be friends. So I know you've been posting like people are saying this and I would love to hear like what have you been seeing on social media about it, or even maybe at some of your events it could have come up too, because I know males, females, non-binary, all the people show up. And then what's your opinion on the platonic relationships?
Yes, no, I'm glad you asked. So I think that there is slash was, I know that a lot of people I know feel this way, like a narrative that like men and women cannot be friends. And if they are, the man likes the woman and there's, just like there's always something behind it where it just makes it inauthentic. You know what I mean? And I grew up with a brother. I grew up with a lot of boys in the neighborhood back when, people used to go outside and stuff. So I feel like I have like a very good balance of like kind of understanding men and just having platonic friendships with them, and then women, of course, and stuff too, and all the other and everything. And I think that a lot of time seeing these gender wars and stuff on social media, it really just comes from a general lack of just understanding each other as human beings and really just getting the insight that you get when you just hang out with a person. You know what I mean? I think that you one grow more just like as a person because you're getting another perspective that is like kind of a complete opposite perspective on things, and you don't have to agree with it, of course, but anytime you're just getting more views and more perspective in a constructive way from somebody who cares about you, like I think that's super helpful. And then I think also, in the spirit of just like looking for friends and looking for a community, like I think something we also lose, if you went to college or high school or played whatever, it's like you have a lot of male friends when you're in those spaces because you're just around men. You might have the co-ed dorms, and a lot of time, like I know when there's like co-ed dorms and stuff like that, like men kind of bring women together a little bit, if that makes sense too, and kind of like bridge the gap between maybe women who wouldn't be super close friends, but then it's kind of like, oh, I know him and you know him. We're kind of hanging out as a group, but it's like, oh, you're actually kind of cool. And like, whereas like some women, might get into the competition mode or the cattiness or whatever, like it kind of neutralizes it sometimes. So I say all that to say that I think nowadays, I know that like usually when it comes to friends, it's like women looking for women, men looking for men, LGBTQ people looking for, you know what I mean? Like everybody kind of stays in their category versus why are we not allowed to have like not like why when we are with somebody who would be our assigned sexual partner, like why is the only option like romantic slash sexual or I'm just not going to talk to you,
Mm-hmm.
you're a human being first. Maybe you're cool, maybe you're creative and you also have a podcast and we can talk about that now or whatever it may be. And I think it's unfortunate because I think it really has one just made it hard to find friends because you're like having having your population of people, and then two, you're missing out on just like the perspectives, the opportunities to grow, the ability to have just like better relationships again because you're getting like different viewpoints, you're getting different perspectives. So I really think we need to kind of bring back how like college and all of that was, where it's just like nobody's thinking about like, I mean, obviously if you're it's like it was more of like, okay, here's a group of 10 people, half this, whatever group of genders, and it's like I just like this person. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I like all the men because they're men. It's like no, like you choose your person, and if anything,
Yeah.
kind of helps you vet the opposite sex a little better, or, whoever you're attracted to a little bit better. So I don't know. I think it's a lost art, and especially as a girl who's grown up a lot around a lot of men and who has friends who are women who like don't have a lot of male perspective, and have friends who are men who don't have a lot of women perspective. It's just like you see how it's like y'all just like don't even speak the same language, and it really hinders you in all types of relationships, I feel.
Yeah, I agree. I think that like the drama on social media about it, I don't necessarily like pay too much attention to, and I do believe that if you went to college that there's a different dynamic with having male friends or female friends or friends of the opposite gender or whatever it is, just because you are around them more in like formative years and figuring things out. And I have male friends. I would say that like when it comes into play of like a relationship, there's definitely boundaries and stuff around having a friend of the opposite gender. And I think that people don't think that that can exist. Kind of like what you said, that it's like if you're platonic friends, like you have to have liked them at some point, or like why haven't you dated? And sometimes that does come up, especially when people are like, Amber, you're single, but you have so many guy friends. And I'm like, you didn't know them in college, okay? Like,
I'm just like, there's a reason very specifically
I'm
behind
like,
it.
I'm like, they're wonderful people. Like, I would recommend somebody to date them for most of my guy friends, which is a good thing because people can't always say that about their guy friends. But not for me, like, I would not date them personally because I knew them in 2009. Like,
Right. And then also just like some people just aren't compatible. Like it's just like you don't like every person who is the opposite
no.
sex of you. So why can't I be friends with one of the ones that I do not like? you know?
Yeah, because even the ones that like I do think about that are my friends, platonic, nothing's ever happened. Like, no, there was never a time that I was like, huh, like maybe we would date or like flirt. No, 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 not at all, not at all.
Right. And I just think that just like nowadays, so much I was saying, like, I feel like, for example, like there's a lot of women's events for women. There's unfortunately not a ton of men events for men because men don't really get
That's what I was gonna say too. Like one of my friends actually, when I was telling him about Girls Who Walk Baltimore, he's like, "That's sexist." He's like, "I'm creating a men who walk group," and I said, "You should because there aren't any men's walking groups. Run club, you can quickly find a run club for men. I will never be a part of a run club, never, ever.
I'm just like that. I don't want to even meet somebody who's like that because like, what are we gonna
You're gonna have us out on New Year's Eve and on what is the other thing? Thanksgiving, doing the 5Ks, 10Ks on all the holidays. No,
do? I'll donate to the cause.
I will root from the side." But you were gonna say, about how there's a lot of groups for men or women.
Yeah, there's a lot of groups to meet. Like, it's like for friends, it's always you meet your whatever you are, you're meeting more of that. And then it's just the only other option is like you're speed dating. There's not just like, let's just like casually be around each other. Cause I feel like it's like in all spaces, whether it's friends or romantic, like I feel like we've gotten out of just like evaluating each other as like human beings first. I'm not even evaluating, just connecting with each other as human beings first, like in the romantic sense, it's like immediately like, are you going to be my husband or my next partner, or I don't want to talk to you, versus just like maybe we could be friends, maybe there's a business connection there. Like I cannot stand, as a girl who does business, men who have no I don't know what the right word is, but it's just like I could be a business connection to you, but instead you got to shoot your shot and make it awkward. You know what I mean? It's just like, why can't we just see each other as human beings first and then kind of see what bucket things fall under, versus like, I'm going to lead with this. And then if it's not that, it kind of just messes up the potential for everything else,
Yeah, no, that's a good point, because it's like if a guy came out trying to date you without getting to necessarily know you first, then you wouldn't be friends, because you'd be like, this didn't work out as like a potential romantic partner, so we're just never going to be friends. But it sounds like you're saying you would rather just approach it as like, we're just chatting, regular conversations, and then if it goes to dating, sure. If it goes to friendship, it goes to business partner, sure. But as somebody approaching it as a romantic perspective, it ruins the opportunity for anything else to come about.
If I meet you in a business setting, I'm just like, have some class. Like let it get there if like it gets there, but like just come on.
Yeah. Have you found that that's been the case though? Because that's another part. Like one of my friends was like, she feels like I'm gonna just find my person out in the wild somewhere, and I was like, maybe, I don't know, because in my experience, I feel like anywhere that I've gone for business events or personal events or just hanging out, whatever, most guys are married, in a relationship. They're gay, because a lot of my guy friends are also gay. They are.
Yes.
Or like I do feel like they're just not like
Serious about anything.
that, or like they're just not, it's just like kind of not the space where they're like trying to seek out somebody to date. Like they're just there with their friends, or
Yeah.
they're there like by themselves, but they're kind of just like, I don't want to talk, like I'm just here kind of thing. So what do you feel like your experience has been like with that? Because you're saying that guys come across weird sometimes on some of the
It's like
business settings.
it's a mixture. And I saw some miscellaneous, I forgot who it is, talking about it. It's kind of like there's two different situations that are going on, and it's like they both are really annoying. Like one, you get the guys who are just like, you're hunters, you're shooters, shoot, you're like, I don't care where we are, I'm gonna flirt with you regardless. Like those kind of people. And those are usually the men who do approach women regardless of the setting. But usually those are not really the kind of guys that you want to talk to, because they are the hunters and I'm gonna shoot my shot at everybody, versus like I'm gonna look at all 20 of these women and kind of give it some time to pick my girl. And then on the other hand, it's usually the guys who you would want to talk to you, who are, again, like they're with your friends, like you said, or maybe they used to approach women, but now a lot of guys I've heard, or they've expressed like they don't like to approach women nowadays because a lot of women are rude, or, they've maybe gotten rejected a lot of times. So it just seems like it's not worth it. Or they think that relationships in general and stuff like that have kind of become not worth it. Because I feel like a lot of women have gotten to that point of like, I'm just not even focusing on men and stuff like that too. Like I feel like men kind of beat us there of like, I'm gonna stop focusing on relationships. So I think the experience is just hard, because it's like the men who do approach are the ones who usually are not really the kind of guys that you should be talking to. And then the ones that you want to talk to either don't leave the house or only go to their friends' homes, or they stay with their people. So it's like, am I gonna walk up to you? Probably not. Like, just it so you like missing each other.
And this also goes back to what we were just saying earlier before about like the way we just interact as humans, because I'm just thinking about like in college at parties, or like if I was at a party like that was with other college students, like when they would do like the school versing each other and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can distinctly remember me just walking up to random people, be like, you're cute, like, and just keep going about my day. And then if we talked, we
Yeah.
talked. If we did it, we did it.
That's
But you're correct that I actually don't feel like I would do that now.
because I feel like it wouldn't. I guess similar to how guys feel, like I feel like it would go differently than it would have like back in the day, or like
Not back in the day. I feel like the last time I probably did that was like, who knows, 20, what, you were in 2025? Probably like, yeah, it probably was like, I mean, undergrad, I graduated 2013. So, yeah, I guess that could be considered back in the day. It just sounds very funny.
I know, doesn't it? Yeah,
But yeah, I would not do that now.
it just hits different because it's like you don't know. It's a different vibe. I don't know. I don't. It would take a very specific guy, but then it's kind of like nowadays. I feel like, and maybe it's me, but I feel like the perception is kind of like if it's a guy who I feel like that compelled to kind of talk to you, like he probably like one of those guys who think he's like hot shit, and every girl like talks to him. So it's like, now I don't want to talk to you anymore. you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested. I really hope people listening weigh in on this because I know when I did talk to one of my guy friends, we also asked him the same question, like, how do you view platonic relationships? That is a platonic friend to me, vice versa from him. So I'm interested now when people hear like a guy's perspective, then they hear a girl's perspective, and then the thing for him, I feel like that was a great part of the conversation is just like how it ties into when you are in a relationship because he is married. Just like how do you distinguish boundaries? But it's kind of like I said, I feel like that any friendship should have a boundary when you're in a relationship, especially. But if it's a person of the opposite gender, for sure, because you wouldn't want the person you're with to think that anything's going on or be doing not like even weird stuff or stuff that like, for example, if somebody was calling somebody I'm with at like 2, 3 in the morning, I would be like, you have no other person to call, like zero other people to call.
Emergency contest. Like, why?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's a problem.
Like something like that. Or like if this is the first person you're calling to tell like all of your drama or like issues to or something.
Yeah. Because I feel like not like you can never talk to them one on one or anything, but it should be a situation where it's like now you kind of just see each other in group settings. Like,
Like you're kind of catching up or something. Or it's like we're inviting you over, like something's going on.
yeah, like y'all not just like kikiing on a random day anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, I've always been cognizant of that for my male friends, specifically too, that are in relationships. And like, I just think about some of them, like, well, one has like kids. So, I mean, we catch up like in the morning before work. And then also, it's like, I'm asking about his wife. It's not like I'm just like, oh, who's that lady? Like,
Exactly.
because
Like,
I, as a friend, just feel like when my friends get married, like, if I didn't necessarily know your partner before, I'm not going to like, be like we're best friends now, but I still would like to know a little about them, like talk about them, like if I see them, like being able to interact with them because they're going to
yeah,
be together forever, we hope.
right, exactly. I feel like best case scenario, like you and your person, like all of y'all friends, just can be cordial enough to like if we need to go on like a group situation, like dinner or outing or something, like we could kind of do that, and people, just like have a good level of like communication, friendship, like your man's friend
Yeah.
will be your friends, but like a good
And where I feel like that usually becomes the issue though is with women though. Like the women are the ones that don't gel as quickly. Men, they don't care. They like
that's
we're here, we're going, we're not, I don't care. But I feel like it is the wives sometimes getting together. And this is my perspective as a single person, not married. But that's what I feel like. Even just when you see like I know it's reality TV, but when you see the shows, the guys have no problems. They're like, oh yeah, we're here, we're cool. We
yeah,
don't know
like
what they got going on.
respectable or whatever. They're just like, we're good, we're watching sports, like we're done here.
Exactly. No, yeah, I can't wait to hear people. Please tune in. Not tune in. Tune in. You are if you're listening to this, but let us know your perspective on that.
Yeah.
And last question to ask you before you can ask me a question, and then just let people know where they can find you. I want to know what is your idea of a good friend and a bad friend, and I'll share mine.
A good friend is just somebody who I would just say like really just let you not be you in a way of like no accountability, but it's like, like they're coming with empathy, no judgment. They're there to kind of like I don't know, like, you feel like you can be, like, your best self, like, the favorite self of you around them compared to feeling like, just, like, maybe you're walking on eggshells about stuff or, like, stuff like that. Like, I feel like a good friend is, like, you feel like they really see you and they really kinda get you and they care about you, and then, they obviously are there when they can be to whatever extent they can be. They, like, uplift you, they support you, um yeah, and all of that. I feel like a bad friend is somebody where I guess like the opposite of those things. Like, or I would say a bad friend is I don't know why it's something the trust category like comes to me. Like I feel like that's really when it kind of is like, all right, like you're really doing a lot. Like other stuff is like kind of more personality based, where like, maybe somebody's more of a talker than you, or maybe somebody is more giving, less giving in a relationship, or whatever it may be. But like just having a sense of like, we got each other. If I tell you something that's personal to me, it stays between us. If I don't know, say something to you, you're not gonna like use it against me or anything like that. Like if I need you in some extent that's reasonable, like I feel like you'd be there for me. So I feel like a bad friend is somebody who maybe it's like it feels more one-sided, or it feels like, y'all are frenemies at the end of the day, where they really kind of have something against you or they're gossiping about you and stuff like that. I just think when I think of it, it's just kind of like that mutual like trust and respect at the minimum of just like we are both kind of equally vulnerable in this. We're both equally in this. So like we're not gonna break that bond, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah, I think a good friend is somebody that shows up, but showing up doesn't mean present in person to
Mm,
things, because I do feel as you're getting older, you just can't be at everything. And as somebody that does have a decent amount of friends and then just like life happening and stuff, I can't be at everything, but that doesn't mean I'm not your friend. And I know on TikTok, a lot of people be like, oh, my friend didn't come to my birthday dinner. Like, she's not my
yeah,
friend anymore. Girl, your birthday's every year. And I'm a birthday person. Everybody knows I am a birthday person. That is a special day to me. But like I said, showing up doesn't mean being in person
yeah,
for something. Showing up can mean a text, a card in the mail. You sent them $5 for coffee. You sent them a small gift because you thought about them on a random day, like not even just a holiday or their birthday. Um, you just did something to show that you're thinking about them and that you're still like in their lives, which does not have to be every day, does not have to be every week. I would say you should be touching base, probably be like month or two. And I only say that because these days fly by. They fly by before you know that they have flown
really,
by.
days turn into weeks real quick.
Yeah. But I don't think see, this is hard because I was like, I don't think a real friend is somebody that you don't talk to for like 6 months. But the only reason that I'm like, is because I know that there's people that I've met like through my jobs or through professional networks that have turned into friends, and we don't talk all the time. But if I was in their city, I would hit them up, or like if there was like somebody I'm trying to connect them with, like a student or another professional or something, I would reach out to them.
I
But I
think
think 6 months might be a stretch though for like a close friend.
right, yeah. And I think also sometimes things are like seasonal, like sometimes you might be a lot closer and you're talking a lot more, maybe you have more free time, you're going through something, or, just all the things. And then other seasons where somebody's busy or somebody has something happen in the family or just like whatever it may be, like, you might have a little longer spell.
Yeah.
And I think it's really about, I mean, I definitely agree 6 months is a lot. But I think it's just about kind of like, I mean, it's like if you really think about it, I feel like people a lot of the time, especially all these like Twitter, these people didn't come to my birthday type of stuff. It's like you're thinking more about judging somebody based off of an action versus like, in your heart if somebody is showing up for you day to day, week to week, in your life, it's
Or
like,
that they would show up for you if you
exactly,
also
right,
ask
right,
clearly about it.
right,
Because
exactly.
yeah, you asking clearly, like, don't just like assume somebody's gonna do something for you.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Because it's like, I think that when you're just holding somebody to just like some arbitrary list of like, this is what friends do. And if you don't hit that, it's just like, where's the empathy? Because like, being a friend is being empathetic, is being compassionate, is realizing that some days people, can't be here for this, or things are going on, or some days capacity looks different and stuff. And it's like, net, like, if somebody's really there for you. So it's like you pulling a card of like, oh, you didn't call me for my birthday, and da da da. It's just like, you're really gonna like sabotage our whole friendship just because of that, when it's like they're there day to day. Like, it's kind of like the whole, like, I mean, I believe people should celebrate Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
but
Yes,
kind of
agree.
like the whole like, oh, every day's Valentine's Day. It's just like, if you're showing up every single day, like certain, like the big days, they matter, but they don't, like, you're not waiting for somebody to prove their love one day a year. It's like, oh, you're good every day. So it's like, you don't have to expect too much extra, if that
Yeah.
makes
It's almost like too, like you think about like just building habits, like you're filling their cup so that on a day or
sense.
week that you're not able to, that it's still full. But I will say, if somebody does not acknowledge my birthday, you consider me my friend, you're done.
That's
That is like,
something like extreme.
and doesn't have to, and it doesn't have to be the day of, because again, the days be daying, like they really do. So it does not have to be the day of. But if you in this whole month of August never said like, oh, your birthday is coming up, oh, your birthday happened, like what are you doing for your birthday, how was your birthday, sorry I missed your birthday, like nothing alluding to a birthday in the month of August, to me that
Yeah.
is a little crazy.
Yeah, because it's just like, it becomes one of those, like, it's not gonna have beef, but clearly, we've distanced ourselves where we just don't care about each other that much, if that's really what it is.
Yeah. And then for a bad friend for me, I would say, oh Lord, I had my thoughts of what a bad friend was, and then it just escaped my little mind. Because I had like a clear of like what a bad friend would be. I definitely feel like the gossiping part, and I do feel like when you're friends with people for a long period of time, and if they tell you something, and then you're just kind of like, oh my God, I have to tell somebody. I
Yeah,
don't necessarily think like talking about something somebody told you is the bad part. It depends on how you're talking about
yeah,
said thing they told you.
that's big.
Because if you're just like, oh, like I was talking to one of my friends and like they're going through this, blah, 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 like I can't believe that, like that's crazy. It's different than like, girl, let me tell you what Johnny just told me,
Yeah,
and this is crazy, blah, blah, blah. Like it's a different way that you can talk about it.
yeah, like it's
Um,
entertainment versus like somebody's real life is like, yeah,
Because it also is something that can be affecting you from your friend telling you, because you're
right, right.
empathetic and you care about them. So then you're talking to somebody else and telling them that thing, but it's about how you're telling them.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so I say that. And then also just like, if you're like a nasty, negative person, I can't do nasty and negative
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
So if you're always nasty and always negative, like you're not a good friend because you feel like you're being blunt. And I am a pretty blunt and upfront person. And I will even say that I had to learn how
Yeah.
to say things or not say things sometimes just because they're the truth or just because they're right. But you cannot be nasty and negative all the time. The world has too much going on that I don't have capacity to hear you complaining all the time.
Hey,
And not realizing that like you're not allowing space for other people in discussion and stuff like that.
yeah, because then it's just like, I don't really want to share like positive things. I don't want to tell you about anything that's going to happen, because it's like, I don't want no negativity. I don't know, want that energy and that. Mm-mm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say those two to me would be a bad friend. And I think that like friendship looks different for every person because everybody doesn't need a lot. Well, not everybody doesn't need a lot. Well, I
Yeah.
guess yes, everybody doesn't need a lot and everybody needs different things in any relationship. And I think as I've gotten older, I've realized that friendships are very much like just regular relationships.
Type of stuff too, of like, what do you really need as a friend to feel fulfilled and satisfied, right? Because it is
Exactly.
very different for different people.
Yes, because I'm a very like self-motivated person. I'm pretty positive, optimistic. So I don't necessarily need that for my friends in the aspect of like, you need
Mhm.
to always tell me like, oh, you're doing a great job. Like, we love you, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't necessarily need that. But what I do need is like a space to bounce ideas off of. Or if I am actually going to share something that is kind of like bringing me down, which is not really often, that you're not judging or that you're holding the space for me to be like, oh, wait, no, like I'm actually being like really serious, that like I'm going through a lot or like I'm overwhelmed, which is not always something that happens often again, but to know that like we can talk about it and it's not just brushing it off and getting back to whatever you have going
We're
on.
talking about exactly. I definitely feel that. 100%.
Yeah, but shout out to all my friends because they are very great friends, the ones I do have, and I've had lifelong friends as well, like from kindergarten and up.
Yeah.
So it has been good. Did you have anything else to share about the that piece before I get you to ask your question that you might have for me?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So, my question is, oh gosh, I'm trying to figure out how to frame it. So, adulting. I know that obviously a lot of us are unprepared in a lot of ways because nobody helps us and sets us up. But like, do you feel like there's any way where you felt like more prepared than the average person, kind of in an area of adulting? And like, what do you think prepared you to get there? And like, if you have advice for people in that area?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. I think I felt prepared, I guess, to navigate hard things like with a positive mindset or like without getting frazzled and like upset easily or like getting deterred because something bad happened or something negative happened. And I say that because I really can't remember many times in my life that I was just like, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I'm like really going through it. Like the only real times I feel like this happened is like one breakup, maybe two breakups, but maybe one or two. And then my last job, like having to leave that when my grandma passed. Um like those like the main things. But not that I'm not affected by those things, but my response and the way that I react to those things doesn't completely just again deter me or stop me from what I want to overall do, which I have learned is not a skill that a lot of people have. Because even my coworkers, they're like, you're always just so like even kill and like you're listening and we know you care, but like you're very like,
Mhm.
okay, we're gonna make it through somehow, some way, like let's push through. And for me, it's the after where I'm like, like now I can like
Yeah.
take all of it off. And I
Right.
feel like that I learned that because I really can't think about any times around me that I saw the adults in my life really getting like to 1,000, like a level of 1,000. Like, yeah. I mean, my parents like argue sometimes, but I don't remember any times I actually was like seeing them argue.
So you didn't pick that like habit up.
No, like my grandparents, like my aunts, my uncles, like I never really saw times where they were really like down and out at their worst and blowing up or like
Right.
overreacting or making like a dangerous environment for anybody that made them feel like, oh, they're going crazy, like they're on 1,000. Like it never was like that. And I feel like that's why probably that I kind of am able to handle a lot and manage my emotions in a way that is not always outwardly facing that like I have emotions, but it's also not like I'm frazzled and
Yeah.
unsure of like what direction to take.
Right. Right. Like you have like a calmness in the storm that kind of lets you
Yes. That's a
get.
perfect way to explain it. Yes. Because my mindset is everything is not always okay, but I've made it through everything somehow.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like if something's going on that's really bad, I just like take a moment and then I'm like, okay, what do I need to do next and get through it? And then again, like kind of woosah and be like, what the heck was that?
Yeah.
Like, this
'Cause it's
was
like now you can
ridiculous.
process now that it's resolved. I definitely get that because it's like I feel like you just jump into like problem. So I'm just like, there's something going on. I probably have some feelings about it, but like let's make this not a thing anymore, and then I'll handle the feelings later.
Yeah. And I think that like I also manage that because my parents let me just figure things out and kind of like wait for me to ask for help or like they would step in if they felt like it was getting out of hand like in just small things as a kid. But my mom often says she's like anytime I would ask you like how school or like did you do your homework or did you need any help with something, you were like nope, I got it and like it's already done or I already did it. And she'll be like I never saw you doing the things but somehow
I
you
was,
were doing them.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah, no, that was a good question. I love people asking me questions because I feel like I am able to express myself the best when somebody's asking me a question. So like when I'm doing episodes by myself or I'm just trying to think of things to talk about, it's always so difficult because I'm like, I know I have a lot of thoughts, but it's hard for them to come out the way I would want to if I'm just talking to myself.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Talking back and forth is way better. But thank you. This was amazing. I like this episode. I also feel like shout out to me because I have been challenging myself more to talk about relationship dynamic stuff, even if it just is friendship. It's typically like the conversation I feel have been very much about people's journeys, but not diving into more of like the topics that are coming up as hot tops on social media or just like in people that I talk to in passing. Again, that's the top thing people always ask me is like, how do you make friends? How do I find people? How did I find like all these communities and stuff that I'm a part of? So I think this conversation was very timely and needed as this world is going through crazy times.
I have one last little
Oh, yeah,
tool
yeah, yeah.
do the most. When you're like trying to make friends and network and stuff like that, I feel like it's also really good to have like one good like conversation piece or something that you have
Mm,
on. Like you always, I feel like you always have like some good like accessories. I think a lot of girls in Baltimore like they're like gonna have some good accessories. um,
yes.
Stuff like that, like stuff that's just like an easy conversation starter. Or if you maybe don't have one, like the easiest thing is just like give somebody a compliment to start a conversation and like just kind of go from there because it like lets people's guard down. It's like the easiest conversation starter ever. And it's always going to get it like, it's always going to be a positive reaction. So just as like my little 1-2, like try to
Yeah.
hear something that somebody can very, very easily like comment on or be the person who is commenting.
Yeah. No, I think that is a good idea too. And definitely just you got to get out your house. That's the biggest tip. And let people know where they can find you on social media.
Yes, you can find me at Bliss Social Club, BLYSS Social Club on Instagram and TikTok, and then Spark Joy Studio, JOI Studio on Instagram.
Yes, make sure you follow her. If you're in the Baltimore area, head out to her events. If you're not in the Baltimore area and you're in DC, come on down. That's not far. And if you're somewhere else, you can find something that's like this in your city. And if not, you can create it.
Right.
Thanks for listening, everybody.